All right, ready? All right, I'm going to call this March 4th meeting of the Vance County Board of Commissioners to order. And our first order would be, we have Reverend Ratliff with us from Shiloh Baptist Church. Would you like to lead us in invocation?
Heavenly Father, we pause to give you sincere and humble thanks. We thank you that things are as well as they are with each of us who is in the room. But then we pause to pray as well for all of our brothers and sisters around the world who are suffering, those across the face of America and even across North Carolina, and those even in Vance County and the city of Henderson who might be suffering. We pray for them. We pray that as only you can do, that you will be the provider whom you say you are. We thank you for this county. We thank you for these commissioners. We thank you for over the years what this county has been able to do for the constituency that it serves. And even this night, as these leaders meet with representatives from various parts of this county and or city, we pray that whatever the agenda entails, that you will go before us all as a leading lamp. Give us the wisdom and the knowledge that we need to do those things that are right, acceptable, and pleasing in your sight, and those things that will truly make a difference for this area, and more importantly, for these people. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. Just a note, I know with our fire departments, they're now in the process. I think a lot of them will be rated with ISO ratings. And I believe our Watkins Fire Department just had their rating this past week. And they had a level 4, which is exemplary for a combination department. So just wanted to congratulate them on that good work there. Ms. Perry, I believe you have an announcement for us today. There are no one spoke, no one's registered for public comments.
So I just want to reintroduce Miss Sherry Moss. I put you on the spot just real quick. I don't want to say introduce, but I just want to reintroduce Miss Sherry Moss as our new planning director, effective February 12th. And we're just happy to have you here and happy to see you lead our planning department move forward. So is there anything you want to say?
Feels good to be back home.
Okay, thank
Glad to
you.
have you back.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Frankie Nobles with our employee engagement team who will present the employee of the month.
Good evening, everyone. We are actually going to let our EDC director, McKinley Perkson, present this one this month.
All right. Well, good evening. I'm very excited to present this Employee of the Month award. So this month, our Employee of the Month is going to Krista Height. Krista always takes a teamwork approach to her work. Our office has to interact with multiple other departments, businesses, community organizations, and the public in general. Krista has never had a negative interaction with anyone while representing Vance County in economic development. She is a resource for all of the partners our office needs to interact with and is often a source for people to gain knowledge for the proper place to go for information. One of the main partners our office needs to work successfully with is the Chamber of Commerce. Krista decided to volunteer her time to become a chamber ambassador to help enhance the teamwork efforts between our office and theirs. Krista is extremely self-motivated and always looking for additional tasks she can take to lessen my workload. Some examples of this are accomplishments include the International Economic Development Council site visit, reception, and networking event. Krista took all of the tasks to plan and execute this event that was part of a grant awarded to the economic development for downtown development purposes. The event was extremely well planned with over 75 attendees and received lots of compliments from out-of-town visitors and the site visit and community leaders. As a result of the IEDC site visit, the recommendation was made that more events need to occur downtown. Krista volunteered and led the National Night Out Against Crime event this year. This was a huge undertaking and involved arranging over 100 vendors, volunteers, and resources to attract families downtown and to engage with local law enforcement. The comments were made multiple times that it has been one of the best night out against crimes Henderson has hosted and how great of a job she did with this event. Krista is always motivated to take on any additional task necessary to make sure economic development is successful in our efforts. There are so many examples of how Krista goes above and beyond for our department that it is hard to name just a few. Most recently, our office had a short notice for an important meeting. Krista took all the burdens off of me to work out all the food details and scheduling of all needed amenities for this meeting. I only had to focus on the agenda and the needed outcomes from the meeting, which made the outcomes extremely effective and the meeting flow efficiently. Also, as part of my role, I assist downtown development with revitalization efforts in the downtown area. Part of this includes organizing and implementing fundraising efforts to improve the downtown area. This year, we hosted a new fundraiser called the Festival of Trees. This was an event that partnered with multiple downtown organizations. Krista jumped in and helped plan the reception and organize all the details with partnering organizations to help make this the most successful fundraiser downtown development hosted in recent years. Krista is always willing to step in and take work off my hands when we receive last-minute projects. Even if it is last minute, Krista will attend ribbon cuttings, spotlight presentations, and any other event necessary if something comes up and I cannot make it. She was even willing to attend the employee engagement team meetings when I am unable to. Krista is a true example of what an employee of the month should be, and I feel she is deserving of this recognition for Vance County and economic development. So Krista. So I guess we stand over there.
Okay. Next on the agenda, and by the way, we've been asked to keep this, this morning, I think it came up, said keep this meeting as short as we could because somebody's got a birthday today and wants to get home early. So Renee, happy birthday, everybody. And somebody had one recently too, didn't they? Happy birthday. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is, we have Ryan Vincent with Vincent Evaluations, who will give us an update on our reeval process.
Happy birthday.
Thank
All right. So my name is Ryan Vincent with. Okay. All right. So my name is Ryan Vincent with Vincent Evaluations. We were contracted a few years ago to complete the county's 2024 general reappraisal. That process is pretty much finished and we are getting ready to mail notices here in the next few weeks. And we wanted to come before you and give you a summary presentation of the reappraisal. So reappraisal is a process in which all properties in the county are brought to their current market value as of January 1st. In this case, it's 2024. This includes all real estate, and that includes residential and commercial buildings and anything permanently affixed to the real estate. We reappraise properties at least once every 8 years, first of all, because state statute tells us to. And what reappraisal does is it distributes the property tax burden equally amongst property owners based on their current market values. So market value is the most probable price that a willing buyer and willing seller would pay in the marketplace. And as we know, over time, these values change based on location and amenities and desires from the market. It's important to remember that the tax department does not create market value. We're simply taking a snapshot of the actions of buyers and sellers in the marketplace. So the reappraisal took effect January 1st, 2024. We began the data collection in 22, in which we visited all of the properties within the county and measured them. The schedule of values was brought before the board in the fall and approved by the board. We plan to mail notices here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And the new tax bills that will be affected by these values will go out in the summer of 2024. So a few basic steps to a reappraisal. The first is the data collection phase. And that's where, again, we visited all of the properties within the county to collect accurate and current information on the properties. Then we bring that information into office. It's keyed into our system. And we start analyzing sales and market trends. And from there, we develop a schedule of values, which is the rates and tables for the reappraisal. And lastly, the stage we're going into right now is going to be the appeal stage. So some things that are a little difficult when we're in the field, since we don't go inside anyone's home. If you have a bonus room above a garage that may or may not be finished, we have to use our best estimate from the outside. If you have high cathedral ceilings, we might not know that. Or if you have a finished basement or an unfinished basement, we have to make our best estimations from the outside. So we're responsible for valuing approximately 26,000 pieces of property in the case of Vance County. We do things similar to the way most major taxing jurisdictions do within the state and also within the country. And there's no practical way to appraise all of these properties using fee appraisal methods. So we build valuation models and use mass appraisal methods to complete this. One of the major statistics we look at is called our sales ratio, and that's simply taking the assessed value divided by the sale price. So state law and our professional organizations tell us that we have to be as close to 100% of market value as possible. And we typically don't include foreclosure sales, auctions, related parties, things like that. We're looking for market sales between willing buyers and willing sellers. So a quick disclaimer here. We're continually working on these values up until the notices go out in the next few weeks. So what you're going to see here is some estimate ranges of value changes. And we have to keep in mind, again, we're continually reviewing this. There may be information that comes in that we continue to review. And also this is subject to change through the appeals process. So at the onset of the project, we shoot for a 100% of market value. Our professional organizations tell us to be as close to 100, but give us a range of 90 to 110% for our median sales ratio. And our COD, which stands for coefficient of dispersion or spread of difference from all of our sales to that median or average number, should be between 10 and 15. So we had 827 sales dating back to January 1st of 22 that we considered valid. So based on those sales, our median sales ratio is 98.02%. And our mean or our average sales ratio is 99.45%. And our COD was 11.52. So based on that, that means that our methods are closely mimicking the market transactions in that time period, and that our methodologies are matching up closely to what those properties are selling for. So here is some changes that we've seen. So the overall county-wide change is somewhere between 67 and 72% for an overall county tax base. 93% of the properties will have a higher value than in 2016. 7% of the properties will have a lower value, and 6% of the properties will change by less than 15% plus or minus. Now, what's important to remember here is this change on paper looks like it's a one-year change, but the last reappraisal in Vance County was in 2016. So this is over the course of 8 years, these changes. And we have a breakdown here based on township. So as you can see, some townships went up a little bit more than others. Pause here for a second. But again, the countywide average was between 67 and 72%. So we've shown some of these slides before, but we're going to go ahead and show them again. And we've added some new slides to this since we've shown this presentation to the board last time. What you're going to see here is a previous value, and you're going to see a current sale price or a recent sale price within the last 6 months or so. So this property is in Townsville. It was assessed for $62,000. It sold for $230,000 in October, and that's a 268% increase. This one was assessed for $47,000. It sold in May for $180,000. That's a 276% increase. This one was assessed for $68,000, sold basically right at our reappraisal date for $275,000. That's a 298% increase. Move towards the lake. This one was assessed for $390,000. It sold in October for $730,000, and that's an 86% increase. This one also on the lake was assessed for $250,000. It sold in August for $556,000. That's an increase of 121%. This one was assessed for $187,000, sold in September for $430,000. That's an increase of 129%. So this one here, we wanted to put in to sort of set a, you might call a baseline, to show that everything in the county has some sort of value to somebody. So this was a house that was assessed for $3,500. It sold in December of 22 for $25,000. That's an increase of 608%. And as you can see, when the house sold, it didn't even have a floor in it. There was no floor in it. This house in Henderson was assessed for 61, sold for 180. That's an increase of 191%. This house was assessed for 99, sold for 205. That's an increase of 106%. This house was assessed for 116, sold for 236. That's an increase of 102%. This one was assessed for 232,000, sold in April of 23 for 400. That's an increase of 72%. This one was assessed for 344,000, sold in December of 23 for 575,000. That's an increase of 67%. Moving to the last few slides here are commercial properties. So this one is an apartment complex. It was assessed for 1.8 million, sold in September for 3.2. That's an increase of 78%. This one was assessed for 63, sold for 120. That's an increase of 88%. And we have the Food Lion here in Henderson. This one was assessed for 2.4, sold for 4 million. That's an increase of 62%. So a few other measures that we track just to demonstrate that our increases aren't necessarily out of line is a Zillow Home Index. So this takes the top tier and the bottom tier of homes sold in the region. And as you can see here, the blue line is the top tier homes. The orange line is the bottom tier homes. And as you can see, they have increased anywhere from a little over 60% to a little over 70% from 2016 to the end of 2023. Next, we have the Freddie Mac House Price Index, which is a measure of home prices within the United States. This one, we have North Carolina and the United States compared here. So in that time frame from 2016 to end of 2023, you can see that the United States went up a little bit over 80%, but North Carolina as a whole went up a little bit over 100%. And lastly, we have the Federal Housing Finance Agency. They have a home price index of repeat sales. So as you can see here, this only goes to the third quarter of 23, but this one increased a little less than 90% in that time frame. So one thing that's important to remember is at the tax office, we are responsible for 1/2 of the equation of the tax bill. The tax bill contains two pieces of data. It contains your assessed value and it contains your tax rate. At the tax office, we are responsible for the assessed value. The board here and all their elected boards within the county are responsible for the tax rates within their jurisdiction. What's important to remember with that is we do not know what the tax bills will be until the rates are set in the budget process, and that is in June typically. So when you get your notice in the mail and you have questions, we ask you to follow a 3-step process. That's review, compare, and then file an appeal should you disagree. So the first step is we've created a website, which will be live when the notices go out, where you can go online and you can review your information. You can review your square footage, your bedrooms and your bathrooms, and any pertinent information on your home. If anything is incorrect on there, we're going to ask you to file an appeal and we can address that fairly quickly. Also on this map, we've put all of those 800 plus sales that we've considered valid sales. So you can go online and compare your house value to other sales within your area. And lastly, if you still feel like there's an issue, you can go ahead and file an appeal. Appeals can be filed online via the website, or they can be filed and mailed on paper to the office or brought into the office. So should someone choose to file an appeal? A couple questions. The first question we ask is the appeal really about value? So a couple reasons that we've seen in the past, which are not valid reasons to file an appeal, is the percent change from the previous reappraisal. So we'll get appeals in where folks say, I don't agree with my value going up 50%, or I don't agree with my value going up 100%. That in and of itself is not a valid reason to file an appeal. The affordability of the expected taxes. So we know that that can be a big issue. There are programs that are administered through the tax office to help folks with property tax relief. If you know anybody that might qualify for those programs, please have them contact the tax office. We can walk them through the qualifications. And the last reason we see, which is not a valid reason to appeal, is the level of service provided. So if you do choose to file an appeal, biggest thing we're going to ask for is supporting documentation. So supporting documentation could come in the form of comparable sales, could be from a real estate professional, an appraiser, or these sales could come from the county website. If you have a commercial building that's rented out, we would ask for an income and expense statement for rents and expenses attributable to the operation of that property. If you have any pictures showing features, conditions, or anything of the home, we would ask for those as evidence. If you have any contractor estimates for repairs or damage or anything that needs to be done to the house effective January 1st of 24, we'd also ask for that as evidence to support your appeal. So again, to recap, data errors in our data can be addressed fairly quickly. If you know someone who might qualify for one of the property tax relief programs, please have them contact the tax office. We'd be happy to walk them through the qualifications. Appeals should be based on value and not the percent change from the previous reappraisal. And if you're going to file an appeal, we ask that you do it as soon as possible to make sure you do not miss the appeal deadline. So a few key dates to recap. The effective date of the reappraisal is January 1st, 2024. Reappraisal notices are going to go out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Board of E&R hearings will begin on April 1st. And the deadline to submit appeals will be May 6th of 2024. And the first tax bills impacted will go out in the summer of 2024. So again, we ask that all appeals be submitted by May 6th of 24. And that's all I have, and I'll be open for any questions.
I got a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So how many counties do you appraise in, your firm?
We do anywhere from 10 to 15 counties a month.
So you got a real background of doing 10 to 15 counties as far as that's concerned. Your sequence of operation, if I understand this correct, explain to me the appeal up there that you had up there. But along with the appeal, when is the new tax rate set?
The new tax rates are set in June through the budget process.
And so after the tax rates are set, is there time for somebody to have an appeal?
No, sir. The statutes were designed to keep the appeal process separate from the valuation process. Because you can't appeal a tax bill, but you can appeal a tax value. And the statutes
I wanted to make sure that was clarified.
statutes were designed to separate those two pieces.
When will the revenue neutral rate be published for the public?
I just received some information from Portia today. So what we have to do is discuss that in one of your budget work sessions to determine what you all want it to be. I know what it is now, but I don't want to say what it is because
Revenue neutral is, but
I think I know. Just remember, I'm operating off Chuck. I think I know what the number is, but I don't want to say what it is right now. Yeah,
So
I
that-
put the numbers in my spreadsheet this
in
afternoon and I
fairly
don't.
short order, that'll be.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that won't be in June or.
Yeah, you'll
whatever.
know before.
Oh, that's good. We will have that. But the other question I had too, if I could. Of those counties that you are dealing with, how many of them have a board of equalization and review?
Every county statutorily has to have a board of equalization and review. It
And the
just
number
depends
of
on the
people-
makeup of it, who.
And the number of people on that board is, what have you got to have by law?
You have to have a quorum based on the number of commissioners.
So you have to have
So
4,
In this case, you'd have to have 4 since you have 7 seated commissioners.
and it could be either commissioners or somebody or a board appointed by this board?
Yes, it could be a board that is appointed by each member here, or it could be this board here, or it could be a mixture.
So you can't have up to 7, but you don't need but 4.
You only need 4 to hold a meeting. Yep.
So could you have a board that is partially commissioners and partially individuals appointed?
You can.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yep, you
Mhm.
can. I
And
believe.
when is the date we have to decide that?
Tonight. You would-
Ma'am?
Tonight, you would have to adopt the
Tonight.
resolution tonight. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Don't believe there's any action we need to take tonight. This was an informational session and, I guess, Kelly, this will be available. So if someone wanted to go back and after they got their values, go back and listen to this on the county website, this information will be available for that also, just to re-educate. Okay, all right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I'll open the Water District Board. Is there anything to come before the board tonight? We've all had an opportunity to look at the report. Are there any questions on the Water Board report?
You had some questions about the shut-offs and the turn-ons, turn back on, so I can't remember the reconnects. That was for fiscal year, the entire fiscal year. I think we were thinking it was January. That was for the entire fiscal year, the difference between the numbers,
So
the 477 and 370.
Yeah, so there was like a difference of 107
Mhm.
between the year-to-date and the monthly, and
So
the restores and the
disconnects, that number was for the entire calendar year for last year. So there were 477 disconnects, only 370 were reconnected. That was correct.
So there are 107 that were not reconnected.
Correct. But it could be due to reasons like, there was something that we saw early in which someone passed away. So of course, that person wasn't reconnected. It was connected in another person's name. So every situation is different. We can get a detail if you need more
I
information.
guess what I was looking at was you do that, but then when you look at the net customers since on the reports, it was only a difference of about 9.
Yeah.
And if there were 107 disconnects, that were 107 that weren't, the variance between the restore and
And
reconnect
reconnects.
and disconnect
Yeah.
was 107, but the customers were only a difference about 9.
Yeah.
Those numbers just
I'll have, Frankie will look into it more. We'll get more information for your
Alright.
weekly update on Friday.
Okay. All right, any other questions on the water board? Okay, water board's closed. Next, we have our committee reports.
Yes, sir. So, Planning and Environmental Committee, Board of Equalization and Review. The committee, Commissioner Brummett, Feemster, and Commissioner Kelly, who was absent, met on February 26th of 2024 to review General Statute 105-322, Article 21. This statute allows the Board of County Commissioners to appoint a separate committee to serve as the Board of ENR. Staff has already done research and found that counties that provided data are split about 50-50 as it relates to members of their Board of ENR. The committee and the county manager both recommend keeping the Board of ENR as the Board of County Commissioners due to timing constraints. General Statute 105-322, Article 21 states that the resolution would need to be passed on the first Monday of March in order to appoint new members to the Board of ENR. This does not provide sufficient time for board vacancy announcements, recruitment, and appointment of those new members by the Board of ENR first meeting, which will take place on the first Monday in April, which will be April 1st. Okay. So the Properties Committee, Land Donation Update, the committee commissioners Taylor, Brumman, and Austin met on February 26th of 2024 to review a request from Mr. Arthur Faulkner for Vance County to accept 32.63 acres of land and a farmhouse. Wakia Macon, who is our extension director, presented additional information and documentation with data maps and other potential uses of the land. The committee has asked staff to continue to do more research. Staff has done some research with other jurisdictions, and that information is as follows. So the city of Havelock has been in these situations before, and they recommend actually getting a phase 1 environmental assessment on the property before it's accepted. And that cost is around $5,000 if you all wanted to proceed with that. And Edgecombe County, it says that unless there's a specific need and use for the land, they do not accept donated property. So that's for your information.
Can I go back before we move on?
Yes, sir.
The planning and the review, and you mentioned something about Board of Equalization and Review.
Mhm.
But you said we had to do something about that tonight, if we wanted to report one, so are we gonna do anything about that?
Oh, that's a board's decision. You would have to adopt a resolution tonight
Adopt a resolution to what?
to appoint another Board of Equalization and Review if you don't want it to be your Board of Commissioners, if you want to do anything differently.
I want to appoint a board, I mean, if we're gonna take that up,
We can.
I'd like to make a motion, we appoint a Board of Equalization and Review. And any commissioner that wants to serve on it can serve on it.
I'll second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any discussion?
I'd like to raise the question. She raised the question. If you appoint a board, do you have time to do all the work that needs to be done there?
I don't think that we will. I mean,
That's-
because we have to advertise the vacancies. And I don't know that we'll have enough time to get qualified members.
We
before
also
April 1st.
need to determine what those qualifications are.
Right.
We need to have time to seat these members of the general public. We need to have time to educate them and bring them up to speed on this process. That's asking a lot to get done in under 30 days.
Just use the 7 commissioners?
Mhm. That's how it is now, right now.
By default, there's
Yeah.
no action required to
Yeah.
continue with the 7 commissioners.
So let me ask this question.
Yes, sir.
Based on our past history of this ENR thing, how many appeals have we gotten in the past? Can you tell us how many appeals we've gotten in the past? What is it we're looking at going forward if we do this without the committee?
Yeah, so the most recent data that I received from Portia stated that the last time that we had this process, there were 640 appeals, and I believe 11 came before the Board of Commissioners. So
Only 11 came out of how many?
I'm 640.
640. So what happened to the others?
They were informal appeals and they were settled within the tax department.
So there's a process is what you're telling me. The process is what? You
Portia.
go, if you got an appeal, you go first to,
Oh, we're gonna let Portia, we're gonna let the expert do it. We're gonna let the expert explain.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, last time, and you got to remember, we did a walk around, so it wasn't a full measuring list. And so we did get 640 appeals, but within the last probably 2 years, the Department of Revenue have really told us that everything needs to come through the board. And the board would have to, even if it's like on a consent agenda. So those 640 would have came, but it would have been like on a consent agenda, and you all would have, approved, because we would have told you what the original was and what the new value is. But that was in 2016, and this time we did a
I
full
guess
measure list.
you're still not answering my question. I want to know, how did that 590 some appeals get down to 11? That's what I'm trying to find out.
The company that
It's a
did the
process.
appraisal,
What I'm hearing is there's a process. Something happens before it comes to us.
right.
That's what I'm
The
trying to
board,
find out. So what happens before it comes to us?
the company that did the appraisal, when they come in with their appeal, when they came in with their appeal form, they went out and looked at or sat down and talked with the people, or they came in with something that showed that that value was different. And so we worked those and we completed those. And it was 11 that said, we still want to go to the board.
Okay, so the process is, you make your appeal, you come before our tax people and the company that did the appraisal.
Right,
And in most cases, 590 some cases, you guys resolved it.
right.
The appeal was resolved. So that we only saw 11 of 600 and whatever that number was.
640.
Yeah, so I want to make that clear to all of us, so that when we talk about this committee that Commissioner Hester is talking about, we're not going to be looking at that many appeals. We're looking at some number less than whatever that number
I
is.
think you'll be looking at way more than, yeah.
Say again?
I think you'll be looking way more than 640 this time.
Well, but whatever that number is,
Mhm.
the majority of it is handled by the tax office and the reval folks, or not.
For the most part.
And then what you're
Yeah.
saying is state statute would have required you to come back to this board with those 600 or whatever you guys approved,
On a
to let
consent.
you know that they had met with you
Mhm.
and that you had approved whatever the appeal was.
Correct.
And we would have had to then validate or vote on what you two had decided and made decisions about before it got here.
Right.
And the only ones we had to look at was 11. So this time you're thinking it's gonna be many more than that.
Yes.
But the question is, are you two gonna resolve it like you did last time, if that's the process? And we're not gonna be looking at all of those.
Right.
That's
The
what I'm
only
trying to get.
difference is you'll get on a consent agenda, the ones.
Yeah,
that we-
right,
Mhm.
exactly. And we would then be approving the ones that were left over that you guys could not approve.
Correct.
Can I ask the team, we do it every 8 years. You dealt with counties that have done it in a shorter period of time, like what, 2 and 4 years, right? What are you finding when you're dealing with the 2 and 4 year, when you compare the appraised value, the assessed value, and what they're seeing in their tax bill? What are you seeing as the public responds to what their new value happens to be?
So I think, can I back up for a second to the appeals and the Board of E&R process?
Go ahead.
So in the Board of E&R process, the way the appeals work is they file an appeal, and we get a chance to review the evidence and work any potential issues out prior to it coming before the Board of E&R. If there is no evidence submitted by the taxpayer, then more than likely, we're not going to change the value, in which they will still probably disagree with the new value, and then that case will be heard before the Board of E&R. The 2016 market was completely different than what it is now. We looked at our base rates, which is our base value for a house earlier today. And I think from 2008 to 16, it went up 10%. And I think from 16 to now, it went up, what do we say?
115%.
55%. So it went up substantially more this time around, totally different markets.
You get 155?
No, it wasn't 150.
It's 55.
It was 55%.
55%.
Yeah, that's just the base rate itself.
55, not 100.
55%.
55, yeah. And that doesn't include land value. That's just the base rate for a residential structure. So we have to account for land value increase, things that we picked up in the measuring list that were never taxed before. So typically what I tell counties to plan for is 10, 10, 10. So 10% of your parcels will appeal initially. 10% of those go to the Board of E&R and 10% of those go to the State Tax Commission. Those are just rough general guidelines. Sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. But if we look at Board of E&Rs in similar size counties, so Vance County has about 26,000 parcels. It would be safe to say that this board would need to budget anywheres from 10 to 20 to maybe 30 working days to hear the appeals that we could potentially get. And when I say that, those are 6 to 8 hour working days. The way a Board of E&R hearing typically works is the taxpayer states their case, the county states their case, and the board deliberates and makes a decision on each individual appeal that's brought before them. So it could potentially be a fairly large time commitment to hear those cases.
And I'm just trying to make sure we plan for the future. And with what you're saying with the increase of cost, I'm just looking at it from overall, and I can tell you, you're gonna have a whole lot more appeals this time than you've ever had in your life, because I can see the difference of what we did last time, 8 years ago. But the point that I'm also trying to make is this, are we gonna be trying to handle all those that come up at our regular county commissioners meeting in the future? Or are we looking at the idea of holding a separate E&R board, or what we're trying to do?
Are you referring to the 1 month, 6 to 8 hours a day that what he was just referring to? Or you
Sir?
referring to something different?
I think, Tommy, in that, we'll just have to see. In 2007, 8, well, 16, when we did it, we didn't have that.
No, you didn't, because you didn't, and you're correct.
And-
But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to approach this issue now in advance, because I can see you having a whole lot more and taking up your meetings as far as your county commissioners meetings are gonna be more involved with taking up these things than it is gonna be trying to solve the business.
I think we wait and see what the amount of volume is, and if we need to have other meetings convened, then we would do that on an as-needed basis.
Now, what y'all talking about, is this separate from the 1 month, 6 to 8 hours that they referring to? Is that totally different situation? or
No,
y'all
so,
talking about
so
the
the time period to file an appeal is only going to be from April to May.
Well, they can file as soon as they receive their notice.
The time period to file is only through May. We do not have to resolve and wrap up the Board of E&R by that same deadline. We have much longer as the Board of E&R to sit and conduct our business. It's only the time frame within which a taxpayer has to file their appeal proper to have it heard by this Board of E&R.
But just like Mr. Hester just said, shouldn't we prep for it just in case? Because it sounds like it's gonna be a lot.
Well, after the time period ends, we'll have a better idea of how long and how much time we have left.
Are we limited to the time we can have?
I believe we're required on the year for revaluation by December, I think it says.
December.
So we're gonna have, so you're telling me we got until December?
We have, yes, sir.
That's what I'm asking.
I guess my question is, why do you think this time is going to be so different than the last 2 or 3 of these that I've been around for?
Because we've picked up a substantial, so in the last few reappraisals, you've not seen increases in valuation.
What about, what
like,
about from 2000 to 08?
we can't, we didn't have any data.
I mean, I can tell you
Data from
in
2008.
08, we were at this point beginning to see the beginnings of a recession, and everyone's tax bills went up because of the difference between 2000 to 2008. So we had a similar situation in my experience in 2008 as to what it sounds like you guys are talking about now.
Mhm.
And the numbers, I guess I'm asking, why will the same numbers not be resolved at the informal process?
I'm going off of, so in a typical year, we do anywhere from 1 to 4 reappraisals across the count, across the state. And so I'm going off of what we typically see in reappraisals for the 23 cycle, the 22 cycle, the 21 cycle, and what we've seen for appeal percentages initially, percentages of those that go to the Board of E&R, and percentages of those that go to the tax commission. So this isn't necessarily basing it solely on Vance County data. This is using surrounding counties and other counties throughout the state that we've done reappraisals in the last few years, and tapping the data off of that to try to help this board plan for what could potentially be.
Just historically, Vance County has not seen that.
That's correct.
And I think my question, I just wanna, for just coming on the board in 2016, I guess we dodged the reappraisal. And I just wanna, Commissioner Hester, what would be the difference you think for another board versus commission, for the, instead of the commissioner? I just wanna know from that point, since, because of how many.
Yeah, well, what I was trying to get to is I'm not trying to do anything about anything but making sure we look at time factors in the future as far as county commission meetings versus this equalization review. And I'm not sure that you're not gonna have a lot more time. Of course, Johnson answered the question is that you can extend it all the way up until December, as far as that's concerned, if I'm hearing him correct. So they can file it, but then they can stay on, and you can have it till then. But let me put a question to him to help with you with yours. And have you done any counties similar to ours in the last year? And tell me about how many the prices changed as much as they have this time. What happened in that, or can you think of one?
Yeah, so we can, we could look at, say, Pamlico County or Chowan County, which are smaller eastern counties. Values went up similar. We had, I can't remember how many we had to the Board of E&R in each county. But again, there was a substantial time commitment from the board. There was no way with the amount of appeals that the board could handle their meetings all at evening meetings. The boards were coming in at 9 o'clock and holding meetings from 9 to 3, or holding meetings from 12 to 5 in order to work through the appeals in a timely manner. One consideration to consider is the fact that there is a budget process that has to go on. And when there is a substantial number of appeals, that is value that we don't know how exactly to budget for that value because it is under appeal. So the sooner that we can work through these values and work through the Board of E&R, the sooner that that money can be more defined for the budget process.
Okay, of course, I can't see us sitting and working 8 hours on. I just can't see us doing that. Did we do it last time?
It's never been done. I've been here 17 years, but
Okay.
it's my third.
No, we
And
didn't.
I've never seen it done that way.
I have a question based off of what everybody just said, to you two. Would it be better for the county if we went 4 years instead of 8 years? Kill some
that-
of this?
It would be better,
You go
yes.
first.
Well, that's what I have always told y'all. That's what this Department of Revenue recommends, and the School of Government. That's what they recommend, 4 years. So we won't go so long with properties,
I am too.
with the values of the properties, because that's a big difference from 2016 to now.
So you have told them before.
Yes.
That would be a conversation for a time. That doesn't pertain to the motion we have on the floor right
I
now.
ain't asking about a motion. I'm asking.
But we're discussing the motion. We have a motion on the floor, so we need to discuss pertaining to that motion right now.
Okay,
We can
let,
have this other discussion at a later, at another agenda. We can put it on.
well,
the
let
table.
her finish what she was saying. Then you can go on to what you was doing. Please finish.
Oh, yeah, that was just it. It was a big difference between 2016 and 2024.
So, and,
So,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Ryan a question. So the counties that you've done, let's just say in the past year, how many of those counties do every 4 years and versus 8? Just your best estimate.
I don't think we're doing any 8s. I think Vance is our last 8
I'm
that we
just
have
curious.
contracted. I think everybody else has, I've seen counties work themselves from 8 to 6 to 4
Okay.
and work their way down.
Okay.
We've actually seen a lot of smaller counties, some of them out east, going right from 8 to
To
4
4,
year
okay.
cycles.
Okay.
Again, it lessens the sticker shock, you
Yeah,
might say.
yeah, okay.
So can we get back to this motion now that we're on? We've gone far afield of discussion this motion. I want to get back to the motion. What I heard was that this E&R board does not have to make a decision within a time frame. Is that right, Counselor?
Our time frame is not 30 days or on or before March 4th or 6th.
Okay,
whatever
so
that date
if
is.
that's the case, what is the pressure that we have to make something by the 1st of April?
Because
Since the
statutory,
board doesn't have to make, why can't we take a little more time if we follow the motion?
because the statutes require that the Board of ENR be established and set up
By
by
the
a set
first
date.
Monday. Yeah, by the first Monday.
All right,
In March.
but the statute does not require they be trained or any of that kind. We could just arbitrarily right now name 4 people and say that's our E&R board, and then we train them later. Is that right? Wrong?
It's, I would just say we need to follow the same process we do for other boards and advertise it. Just for consistency.
Okay, so let's say we advertise, and let's say we set a 2-week notice. You gotta have your bid in by the 15th of March, the Ides of March, right? And so then we make a decision on that. And then after we get the decision made as to the 4 we want of those who have applied and we want to appoint, then we can decide their training and all of that stuff that you say they have to have before they go to work. Why can't we do that?
But
Then we
what,
would have named it
Commissioner,
ER.
you
before.
have the authority and the ability to do that.
Okay, so now I'm back to the motion.
can I say something for the motion? My thing is, if we can't do anything, we can't do anything, we got to keep it like it is because of the fact it's no time frame to get aboard. Why do we have to even deal with it right now until?
Say that again?
We have to it's up, it's gonna be before the board now anyway, right? The commissioners, because of the simple fact that we don't have time to form another board.
No, wait a minute. We have to form a board by the 1st of April. That's what I've heard.
Well, the board,
Is that
but we don't
right?
have time to train, that came from my attorney, we don't have time to train anyone.
We don't have
We
to
don't-
train them, we don't have to train them by the 1st of April. That's my whole point. My whole point is, from what I'm hearing in the discussion, I'm learning stuff here, so I'm listening and learning and I'm asking questions. And so what I'm hearing is, we have to appoint a board by the 1st of April. That's what I've heard, okay? So I've heard from the manager here that we have to advertise for whoever wants to be on it and all that sort of thing. And what the question I'm asking is, why can't we advertise, have a deadline for people who are interested in sitting on this in 2 weeks, say the 15th of March or the 20th of March or whatever. We come back as a board and decide who those 4 people are going to be and appoint them. They will have been appointed by the 31st of March, and then we train them after they're appointed. Why do they have to be trained before they're appointed and all that? Our counselor told us all of the things that they have to be done But
So do
that
you
doesn't
already
have to
have-
be done before, my point is that does not have to be done before they're appointed.
So you already have in mind who the four you want?
Say again?
You already have in mind the four that you
I
want?
could give you a smart answer, but I won't. I'll say I have nobody in mind.
Okay, and from what I'm hearing, it only takes four people, right?
A quorum.
You need a
Oh,
quorum.
quorum is four people.
We have seven people, so if you chooses not to be on the board, then is it possible that he not be on the board if he chooses not to be on the board?
Well,
We would have to change.
I'd refer to the county attorney.
If we're going to go with an alternative board,
Mhm.
then we can establish that board. If we maintain, then we only need a quorum of our Board of Commissioners to meet and operate as the Board of ENR.
So at this time, if somebody doesn't want to be on the board, we as a board can say it would consist of six people if there's a certain person that doesn't want to be on
We
there.
could do that, or we just make our Board of Commissioners, our Board of ENR, and if they're not at the meeting, it's not detrimental to the business moving forward.
As long as we have four commissioners at the meeting,
Mhm.
then we're,
Is there four commissioners that want to be on it?
I'll be on
well,
I mean, if four of you want to be on it, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine with me. I'll accept your opinions.
I've listened to our county manager and her opinion. I've listened to our county attorney, and our county attorney has reservations about the timing and getting a board properly trained. I don't feel it's something to take action on tonight, and I think we ought to vote no on the motion.
Can I ask you may I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Are there four commissioners who want to be on it? I heard 1, 2, 3. Did I hear 4?
We got four.
We got 4 commissioners who want to be on this?
We currently have 7 commissioners that are on it.
No,
Based on-
I want to know if there are 4 commissioners who are not going to be, the 3 commissioners may be absent or whatever. All we have to have whenever we have a meeting is 4 of them to show up. So are there 4 commissioners who want to be on this? Because if there are, I don't have a problem with the ENR.
Yeah, I would serve.
So that's two.
That's what I'm here for. Serve, so I don't mind serving.
That's 3. We need one more. Tom and Mr. Hester? She said you didn't got to show up.
I don't want it. I got too many conflicts. I do not want to do it.
See, I'm not against the board doing this.
I'm,
But
I
if we
mean,
can get 4 who want to do it, what I don't want is for us to then have meetings and not a quorum.
I'm thinking if
That's the only reason I'm asking.
we're gonna take an action on this, that it's something that we ought to look at for next year. When we got our planning retreat in March, we have a discussion on it. If there's consensus from the board, then we start the process. We don't wait until 30 days.
That's future, you're talking about future things.
Exactly.
But I'm talking about what right now, the motion and what we're talking about is what's got to happen right now.
And nothing has to
Future
happen
thing.
right now. We can say no to the motion and we can move forward as our current Board of Equalization and Review. There's no action that has to be taken otherwise.
And I was
That's
just gonna
right,
say,
but if we say no to the motion, then that means this board serves and we can't get 4 people to show up.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. And if you do decide just to do 4, we have to have some kind of backup, because if we have scheduled 20 appeals, we need to have at least 4 there. So if one can't show up out of the 4, then we will have to reschedule the meetings, and we don't want to stop doing
Exactly,
that.
that's the reason I'm asking the
Okay,
question.
any more
That's what I was
questions?
saying.
I'm just thinking it should just stay the commissioners. That's just what I'm believing. That's
Okay.
let's stay the commissioners.
So if you want to stay as commissioners, then vote no for the motion. That's just,
I only have 4.
What would you like to say?
That's what I'm saying, as long as you have 4, I personally think it is too late to do a board of ENR at this point.
So how do
Because
you,
we brought it last year, this
how do you
time.
get the backup?
Well, she just said it takes 4, 7 of us. So if 3 don't make it, we still got 4.
Yeah, so we got 4.
So we can roll with what we got right here. Then we, like he said, we can plan for the future, but let's get this off us. Instead of going back and forth, let's get this off us.
Yeah.
Use this 7. We need 4. So if 3 don't make it, we still good. You don't stop the process. Y'all stop the
That's what you
process.
think, that's Renee, that's what you,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Call the question.
Okay, question's been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I've made a motion, so I'm gonna say aye.
All opposed? Nay.
Nay.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 nays. So the motion fails and we will continue with our current ENR structure.
Thank you.
Either way, it's a win-win. Either way, it's a win-win. So we can move on. So it was your birthday tonight.
Yeah.
You'll celebrate when I get home.
Celebrate.
It's fine. Right.
All right, so Renee, I guess we were
Where we at?
County office.
county office
Building safety. Yes, sir. So the committee discussed employee safety at the county office building. There is known unlawful activity in the area and safety is a priority for the county manager as well as the Board of County Commissioners. The committee has asked staff to obtain a quote on cameras and key card access relocation to the building. That quote has been obtained and that quote would replace the door with a single acting glass door with panic hardware, relocate the existing card reader from the stairwell to the storefront door at the main entrance,
Yeah, I know.
convert the new panic hardware to electronic locking hardware, install door contact on the new door, as well as installing a video intercom door. And so my recommendation or my request is for the county manager, I'm requesting to use contingency funds in the amount of $14,869.25 to cover the cost of the recommendation stated.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend, I move, not recommend, I move that the county manager goes into our contingency funds in the amount of $14,869.25 to cover the cost of the providing video and other security for our county office building.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so the next is Abbott subdivision. The committee reviewed a request from Pastor John Miles for assistance with road repairs in Abbott subdivision. The county manager provided information to the committee as it relates to research that was done on orphan roads back in spring of 2023. Similar requests from other property owners have gone before the Board of County Commissioners and assistance was not provided. Staff will work with those property owners to see if there are other funding opportunities. And that was just for your information. The next thing at the Properties Committee was the Administration Building Handicap Accessibility. The committee reviewed a request received from a citizen as it relates to handicap accessibility and signage for the administration building. Staff will get with maintenance staff to ensure proper signage moving forward, just for your information. Okay, so Human Resources Committee, background check policy. The committee, Commissioner Faines, Feemster, and Taylor met on February 26th of 2024 to consider a recommended background check policy for applicants with Vance County. The county has historically processed background checks on potential new hires, but without a policy in place. Information about an individual's past criminal conduct is collected to first preserve public trust, promote a safe work environment for employees and members of the public, determine their suitability for employment, and promote the protection of the county's property. The county seeks to promote a fair, consistent, confidential, and non-discriminatory method of obtaining and using criminal information for employment decisions. So my request is just for approval of the policy with an effective date of March 4th of 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, that the county manager, I move that we allow the county manager to amend our policy for background checks as stated with an effective date of March 4th.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. And that language was in your packet, I believe. So any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and the last thing in the Human Resources Committee was the personnel policy. The committee considered review of our current personnel policy. Vance County currently contracts with Catapult, who is an HR consultant, and they provide HR employment law-related assistance to the county. Catapult will review the current policy for federal, state, and local compliance, and that's just for your information.
Carry on with your county manager's report.
Okay. So there's a resolution in your packet, and the resolution is accepting exclusive planning authority from the city of Henderson. So Vance County and the city of Henderson have a long history of coordination with respect to economic development efforts and joint planning initiatives in several identified industrial areas in and around the ETJ boundary of the city. There are two parcels of property that are owned by the Carter Regional Economic Development Corporation, located within the planning jurisdictions of the county and the city. The property is split zone between Vance County and the city of Henderson. North Carolina General Statute 160D-202H allows for property within the planning and development regulation jurisdiction of more than one local government to be assigned exclusive planning and development jurisdiction by mutual agreement of the local jurisdictions and with the written consent of the landowner. So we do have that written consent from the Carter Regional Economic Development Corporation, and the city of Henderson passed their resolution on February 12th. So we're just requesting consideration of the resolution in your packet.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Recommend that
Go ahead.
we adopt the resolution as recommended by staff and county attorney.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, so surplus property, IT has 17 desktops with wiped hard drives that we would like to donate to a local nonprofit in Vance County. So I'm just requesting that you all approve the property presented as surplus and authorize the interim finance director to dispose of said property accordingly as allowed by state statute.
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And let's see, hold on, we're down. All right, so staff updates. So Chief Chris Wright has requested to fill 2 vacant firefighter positions, and I got clarification today that there were 3 positions approved with last year's budget that have never been filled. So these 2 positions are just vacant positions that have become vacant after 7/1. So he's just requesting approval to move forward with filling those positions based off of ISO requirements. ISO requires Vance County Fire to maintain a roster of 19. And of course, with open vacancies, they are operating currently with 21. This does not leave room for any other vacancies that could happen. Currently, he's short 2 full-time engineers. This shortage requires the battalion chiefs and captains to drive the engine. And by driving and operating the engine, it does not allow them to perform their officer duties, guiding and protecting their firefighters. And the third justification is reduction in manpower on shifts increases the probability of unsafe work hazards leading to potential injuries and workers' comp claims. So those 2 positions are vacant positions that happened after 7/1, but they are not the 3 positions that you all approved in this current year's fiscal budget. Those positions have never been filled.
So we still have 3 vacant positions that we approved in a previous meeting.
No, they were approved in the budget last year. We looked back and we didn't find anything. It was just approved in the budget last year.
We approved some positions in a meeting recently.
That's awesome.
It must have been not since I've been here.
How many positions are we trying to fill?
2
Motion to approve them.
2 vacant firefighter positions.
And they must be critical for the firefighting.
Yeah, I would agree that they are.
Then I'll make a motion to approve.
Let's second
I mean, I'm trying to figure. I know we did approve positions because they came to us earlier. And we approved some positions. Were they part-time positions?
Chris here?
Yeah, Chris, you want to come up,
Part-time
please?
positions? Chris,
Can you come up?
For the three positions that we.
They've never been filled.
Why you getting two? You still got-
He has two current vacancies. He has two
We had
vacancies.
7 positions. 3 of those were positions that were approved for the Call Lake Station. They have never been filled. They have been frozen.
Hmm.
We come to you back in August, I believe, August or September, and now we had 4 full-time positions. And y'all approved 3 out of those 4. This is when Scott was still the interim. Not to mention, we still had one of those open, and I just had one, his last day was yesterday, so just leaving me 2 short, not including the 3 down to Lake Station. We're still supplementing with part-time when we can, so I'm just asking that.
So these are two positions that have come open since September.
Well, one of them has been open since July. We had 4, and y'all only approved 3 at that last meeting back in August or September. And one just, his last day was yesterday.
Of the 3,
Mm-hmm.
one of the 3. So that left 2 out of the 3, right?
Yeah, so I got 2 open vacancies, full-time vacancies right now, and it's critical.
And so what about this, the part-time are still frozen, correct?
Yes, sir, part-time still frozen, until we still maintaining at 10 and we have, slotted for 15.
How much longer is this gonna be frozen?
Till we get through the fire study.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor in a second.
Yeah, we do have motion second. Any other discussion?
So just one question I just want to ask you.
Yes.
Was this, something was said about the SRO, is it necessary for these positions based on the SRO?
On the ISO, yes, I mean, we can't go below 19,
Okay.
and if anybody else leaves, we get in that more crucial area.
Now, how many you get now, Chris?
Sir,
How many are you at right now?
I'm at 21.
21 working.
21 working, full-time and part-time, and that includes myself.
19 is a big problem.
Sir?
You said if you get to 19,
Yeah, if we get to 19, if we get 19, below 19,
Mhm.
then the county fire department can go on probation and lose the ISO rate.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank y'all.
That's it for my report.
Have some,
Yes.
I've seen advertisements that we are having a employment drive.
Mhm.
If you could sort of announce.
Mhm. Yeah, so the job fair is, you want to come speak? It's tomorrow. You want to come to, I can't remember it's at NC Works tomorrow. I'll let our girl to speak to it.
So it's in conjunction with the city of Henderson, but it's at NC Works tomorrow from 10 to 2.
Mhm.
And we have 9 departments that are going to be there for the county representing that will be there. And they will be able to pre-screen applicants. And if they are interested and they pass the pre-screening, then they will come to the department they'll fill out an application and go through the regular recruitment process.
But that's for every department that's got vacancy on the, website that will be there too.
Actually, we sent the invitation, it went out to all department heads, and out of all department heads, there were 7 or 8 that responded, because the 9th one is including the rec department with the city.
Okay.
So not all departments are participating. Participating is social services, the sheriff's office, the jail, 911, EMS, rec department. That's all I can think of off the top of my head right now, but
And it's the-
ma'am,
They participate, the fire
Ma'am.
department.
I think the fire department is gonna be there. Yes, ma'am.
I think the sheriff's office was
Mhm.
part of that.
Sheriff and jail.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea because basically we have a lot of positions open with county government. We're gonna make it available to any citizens who's interested, the opportunity for them to come out and apply. There's gonna be people on staff that's willing to give them additional information if they need.
Right.
These jobs, because they are with city, local government, they come with salary and benefits and, a lot of jobs don't. But if you come out, if people come out, then they have opportunity to really find out what local government here in Vance County, as well as the city of Henderson have to offer. So I think it's a great thing that you've done, and I commend county manager in going ahead and getting on to that and getting it set up and everything. And I hope it's successful. And I hope it does turn out successful. We get a lot of good qualified applicants here in the county. So if somebody's looking tonight and they're looking for a job in local government, we're
Go
encouraging
tomorrow.
anybody who meets the qualifications to come out and apply.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Alberta.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, we have a situation where the city went ahead and advertised a piece of property that is actually a joint county-owned, city-owned piece of property. Normally, the county's taken the lead and done these, and the city will transfer their ownership over to us to sell it, as we've done many times. This is a situation where the city went ahead and did that. The city believed it was one of the pieces of property that they purchased from the county back in June or July when we did a massive transfer to them of a bunch of properties. My recommendation to the city was that I would present this to the board tonight, ask them to treat this the same way we asked the city to transfer their ownership interest to us. And then we sell the property and give the city back their pro rata interest from the sales proceeds. So I'm going to ask the board to vote to transfer our ownership interest to the city, allow them to honor the upset bid process that they've already gone through. The bid was received from Benita Hawkins and Larry Richardson. The address is on Height Street. The tax ID number is 0021-01008. The purchase price was $25.60, and as I've been told, it has been advertised in the newspaper. It was not upset, and they put down a $750 deposit. So I would recommend that we allow the city to transfer this the same way in which we have done all of these, based upon the incorrect assumption by a staff member that the city owned it and initiated the process all on their own.
So you want a motion to recommend we transfer our part to the city and then they give back the money to us whenever they settle? Is that what you said?
That's correct.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the item is our consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Just like to remind everybody, tomorrow is Tuesday, March 5th, and is the primary voting day. So everyone, please get out and exercise the right to vote. Other than that, there's only one more thing we need to vote on tonight.
Motion to adjourn. Second.